Hello everybody and welcome back to the Dragon's Library. So today I've dredged up a new game from Steam. So a little while back, before Jedi Survivor came out and I had problems with that, I was looking for something to review in between things and I was like, hey, this seems popular on Steam. It looked like it was a new game just about came out called Dredge, which is the reason for that horrible pun. And I decided to try and play it. So now that I'm done with it and I've finished streaming it, let's go ahead and take a look at what it's all about. Dredge is a mixture of fishing minigames, adventure mechanics on an open sea, with a big open sea to explore and fish to catch. You are a fisherman who sails to the coastal town of Greater Marrow, situated in a mysterious archipelago, to take up the job of being the town's local angler. While the job seems normal enough, you wreck the night you get in due to a mysterious fog that seems to distort the world around you, especially at night. Rocks suddenly appear out of nowhere, ghost ships, hostile wildlife, sea monsters, and the feeling of being watched. But you don't notice at first. You start fishing, you go about, and the old people there are being very mysterious because there's some kind of Lovecraftian horror thing going on, and it's your job to figure out what's going on, what's the deal with the visions, who's the creepy mayor, who's that creepy guy who lives in a shack all by himself on an island off to the side of the main archipelago, and what's with those creepy ruins by the volcano. So yeah, you're basically a Lovecraft character, but you're not one of his main characters. You're sort of the person the supernatural stuff happens to. And if you know anything about Lovecraft stories, the people who have an encounter with his Lovecraftian horrors tend not to do well in the long term. Anyway, let's get into this game because it's a little interesting to talk about. First up, the game is pretty simple. The whole thing takes place on a day-night cycle where specific actions players take, like fishing, dredging up materials, or even just going to sell your stuff, causes the clock to tick forward. The player plays small mini-games when approaching small pools of fish in order to catch stuff. You go back to the docks and sell it. You can also fish up small little treasures and materials to buy upgrades. You start with a pretty small boat that can just about muddle around the small little bay coastal area you're in there without it falling to night. As you continue to fish up materials and sell your wares, you're able to buy upgrades for your new rented out boat in addition to paying off the loan you start with. This allows you to go further, and eventually you have enough of an engine to reach one of the other islands before night sets, where you'll find a small dock and new side quests. As you explore, you eventually run into an elderly man with a strange book who is very most definitely some kind of cultist working for a Lovecraft monster. But you're just a normal fisherman, so you go along with what he says. You go to the shipwreck, try and dredge up a treasure. You only find out one of the pieces you need, so he tells you to go to 4 other islands to find the pieces, and then help him do something. He's very mysterious, the book is very obviously magic, and you get supernatural powers, like increased speed on your boat or freaking teleportation as you do so. All in all, the game is very good at one thing most importantly, and that is atmosphere. There's this big open world map that is just this huge stretch of sea broken up by small islands. It's very immense, and you start with this very small engine too. Not a lot of room on your boat, not a lot of space in your engine slots and everything like that. And your job is essentially to catch fish so you can spend more money so you can move further. The map opens up very organically, and I really enjoyed exploring it all. In addition to that, like I said earlier, it has a masterful sense of tone. The day-night cycle is literally night and day. During the day, you're mostly safe. There are a handful of monsters that attack you in the day, but those are all at the 4 corner islands that you have to go to for one of the quests. However, in most other places, you're essentially completely safe during the day. And even in those archipelago areas, in those parts of the archipelago, you're very safe during the day. However, at night, things change. Your sanity slowly ticks away, causing you to see and hear things. Dark whispers echo in the night. The fog closes in, especially on the open sea, rendering you essentially blind. If you're caught in the open sea and have to try and make it back to port in the middle of the night, you should tread slowly too. Phantom rocks, ships, and mysterious creatures lurk just out of sight. Honestly, the first time you're exploring and you decide to stay out past night and you head back in, you know this route, you've been there a dozen times, and all of a sudden you get really close to the docks and then whoosh! A phantom rock appears out of nowhere and you have to slam yourself to the side to avoid running into it or accidentally hit it and lose some of your fish, and you're like, what the hell, where did that come from? And then it vanishes the next day. You're like, oh shit, I genuinely don't know where everything is. It is a masterful tone. The night feels very oppressive, and even if you get used to the night, you still don't want to be out there. One of the really cool things about this game in particular was the way it punishes you for being out at night. I'd say once you're used to the phantom rocks and stuff like that, you can probably stay out at night for like one night at a time, provided you sleep for a few hours the next day. But however, if you stay out for too long or you don't sleep for like 2 days straight, your sanity meter will reach certain thresholds, which will cause phantom sharks and crows to appear. And trust me, there's nothing more annoying than you staying up for 2 nights in a row trying to catch something, heading back to the dock, only to get swarmed by crows who start grabbing everything you just picked up, leaving you with nothing and forcing you to do everything over again. You need to head back to the dock on a regular basis. You need to keep getting some sleep. You need to keep your wits about you, or the game will find ways to punish you. Which is cool. I mean, I feel like there should be a challenge, and one of the biggest challenges is just doing everything in the time allotted. Heck, one of the first challenges is literally just making it to one of the outer islands from the center archipelago with a decent enough engine so you make it there before night falls. And while by the end you have this giant kitted out engine made of modular pieces and all the fishing rods in the world, you start out barely having any slots for fishing rods, you only have a tiny little light to help you see at night, but then you get like these fluorescent lights, you get these big old fishing rod things and big old nets and crab pots, and you've got a massive engine. You can just go wherever the hell you want. But even then, there are still monsters in the deep. Yes, you get some supernatural power to help ward off stuff like that, but it's not foolproof and has a long recharge time. Essentially, even when you get really good at the game, you still feel vulnerable, which is very good design for something that's going for an oppressive atmosphere, and I very much liked it. In addition, there are also requirements for certain fish. Some can only be caught at night, forcing you to endure these hostile environments. So you can't just ignore it and only fish a day. Which, again, is good. You should be forced into the uncomfortable parts in order to give the player a challenge. I also liked how each of the 4 major islands had its own side quest / puzzle you had to figure out how to access and get around whatever hazard is there. That was very nice. I like that if you're doing the secret objects in order the game wants, you will naturally go through them in order of danger, I feel like. You start in the small area where it's just like, if you're in the cliffs area, in the little back rivers inside the archipelago, the small little island which has these inland areas, you will encounter the sea monster, but you can avoid it pretty easily because it's kind of loud. And then you go over to this other one, there's this big thing in the center, you got to figure out how to dredge the center of the lake where there's this big thing going there. If you get too close to the center, it attacks you. And then you have to deal with things hunting you down in the swamps, and finally things really hunting you down in the volcano. And it's just escalation of danger, which is very nice. However, despite the fact that there are a few things in each quest that make the subsequent ones easier, I'm pretty sure you can mostly do these quests without having done the first one. So you could probably go for like the music box before you've gotten the first item on the list. I'm not entirely sure you could go for all of them ahead of time, but it feels like you could. And I went to many of the islands before I was ready for the quest and explored them pretty thoroughly. So, Dredge is a very good game that has excellent exploration, a wonderful tone, and it also has the player managing inventory in a way similar to Resident Evil 4. You get more and more inventory, and certain pieces of your inventory slot can be used for things like fishing rods and nets, an engine, and lights. You have to put them there in order to actively use them. Now, this system does have one problem. See, you have your fishing rods, which allow you to fish in different areas, so you can like coastal, stuff like that. So you need like a certain amount of fishing rods to fish in every spot. Then you have your fishing pots, which can sit in your general inventory. You leave the crab pots out there, and eventually they'll collect stuff. They break after a few days, so you have to go back on time. You have your engine for moving around, your lights for seeing at night. There's just one tiny problem, and it's the net. So there's this trawling net that you can deploy. It's one of the abilities. You get it when you first get the net, and I don't like it. I do like that the inventory slots were difficult enough to place things that I actually had to think about how to configure my ship. I was constantly switching them out, which is good. You don't want an optimal build to just sit at. You do kind of want to be switching these things out for situational stuff. But I found that the net was just more trouble than it's worth. And it's my main criticism of the game, because everything else in this game is so put together that it just kind of feels weird that the net is so much of an afterthought. There doesn't seem to be a lot of work put into it. In addition, the net is also the only thing you cannot fully kit out. You have a maximum amount of light you can get, there's a maximum amount of speed you can get, and you can set up the fishing rods so you can either have maximum fishing speed or you can have maximum coverage. You can fish in all like 8 of the locations that are possible fishing, like mangrove, volcanic, ocean, coastal, shallows, all that stuff. The fishing net, again, is just really bad at this. So the upgrades for the fishing net, you can only have one fishing net on your ship at a time. At most, when you're fully upgraded, you get 6 slots that are both hybrid fishing and net. However, the largest net is 6 slots, and all the other nets are either 6 or 4, which means there is never a time where you can have more than one net. There is never a point where you can use the net effectively in every area. And that is a disappointment because you can actually optimize at least for coverage or speed, and for the net, I guess it would be catch rate or coverage would be efficient. But since you only have such a limited number of slots, you can never use them properly. Honestly, I found it more useful to put some of the fishing speed bonus things and try and shove a net in. I know I've been harping on this for a while, and it does seem a little weird to harp on something so small, but the rest of the mechanics are so cohesive that the net's weirdness sticks out very strongly as a result. Everything else feels like it works together very well to give the intended result. The net just doesn't. Now, before we continue any further, let's go ahead and go into the plot a bit more. So, as you're going around doing these weird tasks for that creepy old man, you start counting journals about some kind of mysterious event and supernatural thing that happened with this old couple a while ago. I won't spoil it because I do kind of like the revelations you get. I will say there are 2 endings, so if you didn't know that and you only got the bad ending or whatever, go ahead and try that. I will say the bad ending is definitely a Lovecraftian ending. It's very interesting. So, did I like the story? Yeah, I really liked it. I thought this was the right mix of horror and unknowableness. Like, you don't ever really learn everything. You don't learn where everything came from. And that's good. There should be a mystery underlying it all that gives you a sense of unease. That's Lovecraftian horror for you. So, in conclusion, Dredge is essentially what you'd get if you mix together Call of Cthulhu with Shadows over Innsmouth and made the character a random fisherman at one of these cursed Lovecraftian small New England towns. It is very effective at scaring me from time to time. It had an oppressive atmosphere. I enjoyed the feeling of going out and getting a good haul of fish and trying to beat my maximum record. See how much money I can make on one haul was a very good thing. I really enjoyed optimizing my ship builds and trying to try out new configurations. I liked how it was pretty easy to switch these things. So all in all, I really, really enjoyed this game. Now, it's not perfect. The net system feels a little bit vestigial, and I also felt that while there is a decent amount of content, outside the main quest, most of the side quests feel a little lacking. I would have liked to see more stuff going on, maybe some more things going on the side islands, maybe some extra side main quests, like a secondary main quest on each of the 4 islands would have been nice. As it stands, it is a very light game, but it is made by a new studio. This was made by Black Salt Games and published by Team 17. From what I understand, this is the first game by Black Salt Games, so I'm happy to see where they go in the future. They genuinely have a good grasp over game design fundamentals, and I am eager to see what they can do going on from now with a bit of money behind them. So, yeah. I'll give this a 9 out of 10. It's definitely a game I've been playing on and off ever since I finished it, just because I enjoy going back to it and continuing to fish. It's a fun fishing game. What do you want from me? So, yeah. Moving on from there, we have the announcements. Hello, everybody. So there's been a small change with my upcoming stuff. Now, first up, we have the books, because that's where the change is. And I was originally going to review The Dragon's Promise as my next book. Unfortunately, I released that Rachel Aaron review, and one of my commenters, actually currently the only comment on that from someone that's not me, immediately said, "Hey, thanks for releasing this. By the way, did you know Rachel Aaron released another book this year?" And I was like, yes, please. So I'm going to be reading By a Silver Thread, by Rachel Aaron, and then I'll get to The Dragon's Promise. I know I keep putting that off, but I have until September until that prequel book to that series comes out. I have plenty of time. I'm not going to delay it for 3 months and get in trouble with myself. No, that'll never happen. So moving on from there, I'm going to try and see Scream or Shazam sometime this week. Since I can stream those and I'm on call, I'm going to try and get a review out for Scream if I have time. Then I also am going to be reviewing Star Wars Survivor when I finish it, I guess. I haven't started on it yet. I don't really have another game that I finished and ready to review, so I'll have to work on that. But I am going to try and stream. I'm probably not going to stream the entirety of Jedi Survivor. I'm probably going to stream part of it and then run through the rest of it on a weekend. In addition to that, I do still need to finish The Last of Us Maybe. I don't know. Every time I talk about maybe reviewing The Last of Us, I feel a little bit more of my will to watch it go away. Like, I've heard it's good, but the thing is, I just don't understand why The Last of Us needed a TV adaptation. The whole game was already trying to be so cinematic as it is, and I don't really see the need, I guess. I don't know. It's not like it's a bad story. It's well told. It's just, aside from the whole their fungus thing, doesn't really have an original bone in its body. It's very stock zombie apocalypse, humans are the real monster deal. So yeah, enough about that. Let's move on to the end card. Hello everybody! Go ahead and check out that subscribe orb. Go there, go to my channel, watch some of my other videos, subscribe if you have not already done so. And I also have a playlist for everything for this year, and also a video YouTube recommend, so check both those out. And I will see you all next time. Bye!